Welcome to OMARanger004, and today we will talk about Cyclops. But before we start, please join me on Patreon by OMARanger004. Your small donation helps run the channel. With that out of the way, let's begin. Cyclops, Scott Summers, is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics and is a founding member of the X-Men. Created by writer Stan Lee and artist, co-plotter Jack Kirby, the character first appeared in the comic book The X-Men. Cyclops is a member of a subspecies of humans known as mutants, who are born with superhuman abilities. Cyclops emits powerful beams of energy from his eyes, and can only control the beams with the aid of special eyewear which he must wear at all times. He is typically considered the first of the X-Men, 1. A team of mutant heroes who fight for peace and equality between mutants and humans, and one of the team's primary leaders. 2. 3. Cyclops is most often portrayed as the archetypal hero of traditional American popular culture, the opposite of the tough, anti-authority anti-heroes that emerged in American popular culture after the Vietnam War, e.g. Wolverine. His X-Men teammate, 4. 5. James Marsden initially portrayed Cyclops in the X-Men films, while a younger version of the character was portrayed by Tim Pocock in the 2009 prequel film X-Men Origins Wolverine, and he was portrayed by Ty Sheridan in X-Men Apocalypse 2016, and Dark Phoenix 2019, as well as a cameo in Deadpool 2 2018. Cyclops' history has undergone various revisions, both minor and major. The central fixed element is the character's origin story. As a young boy, Scott Summers is orphaned after watching his parents die in a plane crash. Scott and his brother, Alex, are the only survivors. Their parents placed the two boys in the only available parachute and forced them to jump from the plane just prior to crashing. The boys become wards of the state and are separated. When Scott's powers manifest uncontrollably, he runs away from the orphanage and wanders before being taken in as ward by Charles Xavier. When Scott was a boy, his father, USAF Major Christopher Summers, took the family for a flight in their de Havilland Mosquito from his grandparents' home in Anchorage, Alaska. It came under attack by an alien shear spaceship. As the plane went down in flames, Scott's parents fastened him and his younger brother Alex into a parachute and pushed them off the plane, hoping that they would survive. 17. In Cyclops' first appearance in the X-Men #1, he is already leading the X-Men under tutelage of Professor X. Later, Scott's origin is first presented in the Uncanny X-Men #38 to 42 and later refined in the Uncanny X-Men #144 and the Uncanny X-Men #156. In 2010, Marvel released X-Men Origins, Cyclops #1, that describes the character's childhood through his joining the X-Men. The early accounts in the X-Men comics use flashbacks to tell the origin story of Scott parachuting from his parents' plane. The flashbacks are often told from various narrative perspectives and place different emphasis on the events of this period. Scott's poor control over his power have been attributed to events in his childhood. In the Uncanny X-Men #156, Scott's parachute caught fire and Scott struck his head upon landing. This caused brain damage to Scott, which is responsible for his poor control over his optic blasts. 18. Several origin stories do not feature the head injury account, with X-Men Origins, Cyclops #1 being the most recent. 17, 19, 20. The head injury account has also been retconned in Astonishing X-Men Volume 3 as being due to a self-imposed mental block he made as a child to deal with the traumatic events of his life. 21. With the help of Emma Frost, Scott is able to briefly bypass his own mental block and control his powers. 22, though he reveals that his control is waning and temporary. 23. For a time Scott had prolonged amnesia about his childhood. Parts of his memory returned when he was unexpectedly attacked by the demon Despair while on a leave of absence after Jean Grey's perceived first death. 20. Scott spent most of his childhood at the state home for the foundlings in Omaha, Nebraska, and was subjected to batteries of tests and experiments by the orphanage's owner, Mr. Milbury, an alias for the geneticist Mr. Sinister, who also placed mental blocks on Scott. 24. Ancestry edit. In the further adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix Limited series, both Scott and Jean were sent back in time to 19th century England by Madame Sanctity, a surviving member of the Ascani sisterhood. In 1860, prior to the epilogue of the story, a young English orphan named Daniel, who was freed 1 year ago from the clutches of Nathaniel Essex by Scott and Jean, is shown arriving in New York Harbor from London. As a form of reverence toward the couple who recently showed him great kindness, when urged by his apparent guardian to adopt a new surname at the immigration station, Daniel chooses Summers. Although Scott does not make the familial connection between Daniel and himself, he suspects that his presence in this time, along with Jean's, did something else to affect the course of history, aside from stopping Mr. Sinister and Apocalypse. 25. The X-Men edit. When Scott is 16, he goes on a trip to New York with his orphanage supervisor. Scott walks near a construction site and his optic beam activates for the first time. The blast damages a metal crane, causing it to fall towards an onlooking crowd. Scott thinks quickly unleashing a second blast that destroys the crane. The crowd thinks this is an act of violence, and forms a lynch mob. Scott hops onto a train and runs away. Wandering, Scott encounters Jack O'Diamonds, who tries to recruit Scott as a villain but eventually battles the villain. Scott is found by Charles Xavier, directly after, who erases the crowd's memories. Xavier then asks Scott to join him and the X-Men. He gladly accepts, as the first official member. 26. In the X-Men's first field mission, he battles Magneto. 8. With the X-Men, he battles the Vanisher, Eunice the Untouchable, the Blob, and many others. Xavier would soon choose him to be deputy leader of the team and act as field leader whenever he was absent. 27. Cyclops has a relationship with Jean Grey during their time in the original X-Men. For a long time, he refuses to admit, even to himself, that he has feelings for her, afraid he would be hurt again or that his optic blasts would hurt her. Or anyone else he cared about for that matter. And also because he feels he is no match for his wealthy teammate Warren Worthington III, aka Angel, who is at first also romantically interested in Jean. What Scott doesn't know is that Jean actually has a crush on him, but is too shy to make a move. Finally, on Bobby Drake's 18th birthday, they reveal their passion for each other and become lovers. 28. During one of the X-Men's adventures, he rediscovers his brother Alex as his powers were manifesting. Alex would join the team with Scott as Havoc. When the original team of X-Men are defeated by Krakoa, Cyclops is the only member able to escape and return to Xavier. He helps train a new group of X-Men, which includes Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Banshee, Thunderbird, Sunfire and Wolverine to rescue the others. 29. When the other original X-Men, Angel, Beast, Iceman, Jean Grey, and later additions Havoc, his own brother Alex, and Polaris decide to leave in light of the arrival of the new X-Men, Cyclops stays, feeling that he will never be able to lead a normal life because of the uncontrollable nature of his powers. 30. As an adult member of the X-Men, Cyclops unknowingly meets his father, now known as Corsair, leader of the Starjammers, a group of aliens opposing what they see as the tyranny of the Sheer Empire. 31. Jean learns of Corsair's identity but keeps it from Scott, and several more years pass before he learns his father's true identity. 32. Cyclops privately questions his relationship with Jean after Jean dies trying to pilot a space shuttle through a solar flare, and then is reborn as Phoenix, feeling that this reborn Jean was not the same Jean he had loved. Yet when he thinks her dead for an extended period of time after a battle in the Savage Land, Scott is not able to mourn her, and believes this meant he didn't really love her anymore. He briefly dates Colleen Wing. 33. However, when Scott and Jean are reunited on Muir Island to fight Proteus, he rediscovers his love for her, and they share a passionate kiss on the way home. 34. A few days before Jean dies, Scott psychically proposes, and she accepts. After her death, he quits the X-Men, unsure of what to do anymore. 35. He signs on as crew of a fishing boat, captained by Lee Forrester. After an adventure in which Lee's father is possessed by despair, Cyclops and the Man-Thing must fight despair. 20. Scott and Lee find themselves shipwrecked in the Bermuda Triangle, where they stumble upon Magneto's new base of operations. 36. Scott soon returns to the X-Men. 37. He then discovers that Corsair, the leader of the space pirate group the Starjammers, is actually his father. 32. Scott originally believed that his parents died in the plane accident and is unaware that they, in fact, had been captured and sold into slavery by the Shear. His mother was murdered by then Emperor Deacon, leaving a grieving Corsair to escape captivity and form the Starjammers. He also finds out through Corsair that he has living grandparents, who own a shipping company in Alaska. 38. During his first visit to his grandparents, he meets Madeline Pryor, a woman who bears a strong resemblance to Jean. Eventually he marries her, and after she gets pregnant he retires from the X-Men. 39. Scott has a difficult time adjusting to life outside of the X-Men, and later, to his wife's dismay, he challenges Storm to a battle in the Danger Room for leadership of the X-Men. Despite Storm no longer possessing her mutant powers, she defeats Cyclops. Madeline gives birth to their son, Nathan, and Scott returns to retirement from the X-Men. 40. X-Factor and Inferno. At it shortly after the birth of his son Nathan, Jean Grey is discovered and revived by the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. It is revealed that Jean Grey was alive and had never been the Phoenix. The Phoenix is revealed to have been a cosmic entity who placed a dying Jean Grey in a healing pod at the bottom of Jamaica Bay and replaced her, taking on her appearance and memories, to the point of not realizing that she herself was not the real Jean Grey. 41. After hearing that Jean is alive, Cyclops leaves his wife and son and rejoins the other original X-Men as X-Factor, who pose as mutant hunters but in reality are trying to help their genetic brethren. 42. Meanwhile, Pryor goes on to be an assisting member of the X-Men, apparently sacrificing her life during the fall of the mutants with her teammates, although she was left with feelings of despair over the loss of Scott, who felt bad himself over the way he had handled the situation. The demons Sam and Naster corrupt Madeline's feelings of self-despair, transforming her into the Goblin Queen. Madeline seeks revenge on Scott for leaving her. When it is revealed that she is a clone created by geneticist Mr. Sinister, essentially for the purpose of becoming a brood mare, Madeline can't take it anymore and kills herself. Scott seemingly kills Sinister with an optic blast, and pursues a romance with Jean, reclaiming his son. 43. Scott soon learns that Mr. Sinister ran the orphanage in which Scott was raised, and battled Sinister over this. 44. Shortly after the Extinction Agenda, Scott re-encounters Apocalypse, who infects Nathan with a techno-organic virus. Although Scott saves his son with the help of his teammates and through the combined strength of Nathan, Jean, and himself defeats Apocalypse, he was unable to save his son from the fatal infection. Distraught, Scott sends his son into the future where he can be cured. 45. Next, Xavier's psionic enemy, Shadow King, returns to combat the X-Men and X-Factor. After his defeat, Cyclops and X-Factor rejoin the X-Men team, and Scott is named leader of a newly created, Blue Team. Return to the X-Men edit after Cyclops's return as field leader, volume and issue needed. Much of the Blue Team is kidnapped by Omega Red and the Ninjas of the Hand. Volume and issue needed. After the captured teammates' rescue, Mr. Sinister sends Caliban, a former X-Factor member, to kidnap Cyclops and Jean for Strife, a madman and rival to Cable, both time-lost mutants. Volume and issue needed. Strife tells the two that he is Nathan, sent to the future and abandoned. In a fight, Cable and Strife apparently die. Volume and issue needed. Afterwards, the team battles Omega Red again, and teammate and telepath Psylocke tries to lure Cyclops into an affair behind Jean's back. Volume and issue needed. Ultimately, however, Cyclops remains with Jean. Volume and issue needed. Cable returns as well and reveals to Cyclops that he is the real Nathan Christopher Summers, while Strife is a clone of Nathan created in the event of his death who was stolen and raised by Apocalypse. Volume and issue needed. Second marriage edit. Scott Summers and Jean Grey finally marry. 46. During their honeymoon, they are brought into the future where they raise Cable for the first 12 years of his life during the adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix miniseries. After helping Cable defeat the future version of Apocalypse, they are sent back to the past. At the request of Rachel Summers, Jean assumes the Phoenix identity. Mr. Sinister, involved with the machinations of Apocalypse and Strife and still alive, tells Cyclops that there is another Summers brother, and leaves him wondering. As Cyclops deals with the fact that his son is now old enough to be his father, volume and issue needed. The X-Men are forced to battle their mentor when Professor Xavier is transformed into the evil Onslaught, as a result of his recent attempt to wipe Magneto's mind, causing Magneto's darker impulses to merge with Xavier's own subconscious darkness and manifest as a new personality. Volume and issue needed. Although the X-Men defeat the evil entity and free Xavier, most of Earth's heroes are lost for a time. Volume and issue needed. Xavier, who is left powerless after Onslaught's defeat, is arrested for his part, leaving Scott and Jean as leaders and co-headmasters of the school. Volume and issue needed. However, the pair go into retirement following Operation Zero Tolerance, in which Cyclops is gravely injured when a bomb is placed in his chest. Volume and issue needed. Merging with Evelet, Scott and Jean return to the X-Men some time after at the request of Storm, when she grows concerned about the mental well-being of Professor X, who had returned sometime prior. 47. Their return then leads to the events of the 12, in which Apocalypse plans to use a machine to steal the powers of 12 select mutants and the body of Nate Gray, which will make him virtually omnipotent. Volume and issue needed. In order to save Nate, Cyclops willingly merges with the villain Apocalypse. 48. He is believed dead until Jean and Cable track him down to Egypt and separate him from Apocalypse, killing Apocalypse's spirit in the process. 49. New X-Men edit. Upon Cyclops' return to the X-Men following his possession, his personality has been altered as a result of being bonded with Apocalypse. This change causes a rift between him and Jean. He claims that Apocalypse made him question not only their relationship, but his life as a whole. He is instrumental in preventing the mutant Zorn's suicide and in recruiting the powerful mutant to the X-Men. The two establish a close friendship. Similarly, repeated missions with Wolverine result in the growth of a tentative friendship between the two veteran X-Men. When Jean begins to show signs of the Phoenix Force again, the distance between the two grows larger and Scott begins abstaining from sex with Jean for the 5 months. Jean attempts several times to confront Cyclops, but he continues to push her away, claiming that Apocalypse had changed him too much on the inside. 50. Jean, confused by the change in their relationship, confides in Logan and the two kiss in the woods outside the school, but Logan walks away telling her that she should remain with Scott. 51. Xavier leaves Earth while under the control of Cassandra Nova and Jean is left as headmistress of the school. Her new responsibilities along with her growing powers force Jean to put her attention elsewhere, leaving Scott feeling ignored and his trauma from being possessed trivialized. Instead of attempting to reconcile with her, Scott turns to Emma Frost for consolation, feeling that he can talk to Emma about his problems. Their relationship ostensibly begins as a series of psychic therapy sessions, but the two soon engage in a full-fledged psychic affair. 52. When Phoenix discovers the affair, Cyclops claims he and Emma shared only thoughts and thus had done nothing wrong. Meanwhile, Emma's snide and mocking jeers provoke a hurt and angry Jean to psychically confront her, using the full power of the Phoenix Force to burn through Lee's. She forces Emma to admit her true feelings for Scott, and to face her many failures, sins, and personal demons. Furious at both himself and Jean, Scott confronts Jean and demands that she read his mind. Jean finally complies, only to discover that Scott and Emma never engaged in any physical contact, though Emma had offered it. After confronting Jean with the truth, Scott leaves the Xavier Institute, and a short time later Emma is found shattered in her diamond form and believed killed. 53. Scott soon finds himself at the Hellfire Club, which had been turned into a sleazy strip club, and tries to get drunk, attempting to escape the responsibilities, expectations, and demands which he feels are unjustly placed on him by the X-Men. He then accompanies Wolverine and Phantom X to the government-created time pocket called the World and then Asteroid M. During his time with Wolverine, Scott reveals that he feels his relationship with Jean is stagnant and that the two of them had not progressed romantically since their initial teenage romance. He also confesses that he feels that Jean is so concerned with the school and her new powers that the two no longer communicate like before, and that he feels left behind due to Jean once again being connected to the Phoenix Force. When Scott finally returns to the X-Men, their new teammate Zorn, who was revealed to be Magneto, but was subsequently retconned as an imposter, attacks the X-Men. Having at last reached full Phoenix power, Jean confronts Zorn Magneto and is killed in the process. As she is dying, Scott apologizes for hurting her, but Jean instead tells him that she understands and has never seen him more alive and urges him to live on. Headmaster Scott, however, is devastated by Jean's death, and considers leaving the X-Men once more. It was revealed in the Here Comes Tomorrow storyline that, had he done so, it would have led to an apocalyptic alternate future. To prevent this, a resurrected, future version of Jean uses her powers as the White Phoenix of the Crown and telepathically reached back in time to tell Cyclops it was okay to move on, leading him to start a real relationship with Emma. Together, the pair rebuild the Xavier Institute as co-headmasters. The new relationship between Emma and Scott leads to problems between them and the rest of the X-Men, all of whom believe that the pair are doing Jean's memory a disservice. Rachel Summers in particular feels hurt and angry by her father's lack of remorse for the psychic affair that hurt Jean before her death and Emma's part in it, and takes on the last name of Gray in place of Summers. The other X-Men eventually come to accept the relationship, and both Scott and Emma manage to reconcile with Rachel in their own ways, such as introducing Rachel to Jean's other family members. Deciding that the X-Men need to play more of a role in emergency rescue and aid, and thus garner attention on mutants in a more positive light where mutant abilities are used for the good of people, Cyclops hand-picks a new team in astonishing X-Men of himself, Emma, Beast, Kitty Pryde, and Wolverine, which is subsequently used by Marvel as the chief representation of the X-Men. Volume and issue needed. The team faces an alien named Ord of the Breakworld, who supplies Earth's scientist drive. Kavita Rao with a cure for mutation. Volume and issue needed. The team subdue Ord and rescue the resurrected Colossus, but not before learning that one of their own will be responsible for the destruction of Ord's homeworld in the coming year. Volume and issue needed. Not long after, the X-Men's Danger Room becomes sentient, attacking the X-Men and seeking to ultimately kill Xavier. Calling itself Danger, she reveals that Xavier knew she had been self-aware since sheer technology was installed in the Danger Room years ago, but chose to ignore her, effectively inhumanely using her only to train his teams of X-Men. Volume and issue needed. After her defeat on the island of Genosha, the X-Men abandoned Xavier in disgust, with Cyclops no longer welcoming Xavier's input at the school or with the team. Volume and issue needed. Cyclops also tutored a squad at the institute called the Corsairs, named after Cyclops's father. The team consisted of Dryad, Quill, Spectre, and the three remaining Stepford Cuckoos. Astonishing X-Men edit. In Astonishing X-Men Volume 3 Number 14, during an impromptu telepathic therapy session, Emma Frost presented Cyclops with the possibility that his lack of control over his optic blasts actually stems not from physical brain damage, but from a sort of mental block that the young Scott imposed upon himself after the combined traumas of the loss of his parents, separation from his brother, and shocking manifestation of his powers. This is seen as a coping mechanism, giving Scott something to focus on and try to maintain some sort of control over at a time when events completely out of his control had effectively shattered the life he had led up to that point. Scott admits that this theory is the truth, further admitting that he had blocked making this decision out of his memory, to preserve the fallacy in his own mind and prevent others from discovering his secret. The issue ends with Scott apparently in a catatonic state, with his eyes uncovered and displaying their natural shade of brown, with no evidence of his powers manifesting. Later he manifests, and has full control over his optical blasts, although it was only temporary. 54. Deadly Genesis edit. Main article. X-Men. Deadly Genesis. After the events of House of M, nearly all mutants were left depowered, and Xavier was missing. A mysterious villain then attacked and easily defeated several members of the team, including Cyclops and his alternate reality daughter, Rachel. The two were captured and taken to an undisclosed location, which Cyclops vaguely remembered visiting in the past. Eventually managing to free themselves, Cyclops and Rachel attempted to escape, only to run into their captor, revealed to be Vulcan, who informed Cyclops that he was the X-Man's younger brother. A powerless Professor Xavier confirmed this information in the final book of the miniseries. This new information has left Cyclops resentful towards his mentor and has gone so far as to demand that Xavier leave the school as it is no longer his. Volume and issue needed. Civil War edit. Main article. Civil War Comics. Cyclops, along with the other living original X-Men, declare neutrality on the subject of Civil War, reasoning that the X-Men sympathize too much with Captain America's side, who, like the X-Men, were persecuted for wanting to do the right thing. but believed that the mutant race had suffered too great a loss recently to take a side either way due to the recent depowerment of so many mutants. Bishop leaves the team to join the registration supporters and locate the escaped 198. In Civil War, X-Men number 2, Cyclops undermined control of Johnny D helps the futuristic X-Man in recovering them. Cyclops is then manipulated into attacking Bishop, which he does by overloading Bishop's power of energy absorption. 55. World War Hulk main article. World War Hulk Cyclops is listed at IGN as a target on Hulk's hit list of characters. 56. He is seen fighting the Hulk in World War Hulk, X-Men number 1, and in issue number 2, he uses a full beam blast to stop the Hulk, refusing to let the Hulk take Professor Xavier regardless of his own feelings towards his mentor regarding the truth about Krakoa. While it peels off some of the Hulk's skin, he was able to walk towards Cyclops and clench his entire face, effectively containing the blast. After Hulk left when Mercury told him about the mutant race being near extinct, Cyclops began to forgive Professor X while the wounded were being tended to. 57. Messiah Complex edit main article. X-Men. Messiah Complex Cyclops leads a team to Alaska to find the new mutant detected by Cerebro. When the team arrives, they find nearly every child in the town killed, dead marauders and purifiers, and the baby gone. 58. He sends a team consisting of Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Angel, and Colossus to find former acolytes for information on the marauders. He argues with Xavier, who complains about not telling him about his team. Scott tells Xavier it's not his X-Men anymore and that he can do what he wants. Scott also calls in X-Factor to help with the situation, asks Richter to infiltrate the purifiers, and asks Madrox and Layla Miller to go see Forge. 59. Upon discovering that Cable has kidnapped the newborn mutant, Cyclops orders the reforming of X-Force with Wolverine leading the team. Their first mission is to hunt down Cable and retrieve the baby. 60. Cyclops later breaks all ties with Professor X and asks him to leave the mansion, as Xavier continues to question Cyclops' judgment. 61. Later on, Cyclops is seen with his own team in X-Factor, to help out Wolverine against the Reavers and to capture the baby from Cable. Cable eludes the X-Men. 62. After finding the Marauders' hideout on Muir Island, Cyclops dispatches X-Force and Bishop to go there and retrieve the baby. 63. During the final battle, Cyclops sends the new X-Men against the Marauders, believing that Sinister's forces will be caught off guard by unfamiliar opponents. The students prove to be effective. Cyclops then confronts Cable demanding the baby. Cable, with a gun pointed at his father, begs Cyclops to let him escape into the future with the baby. However, Cable gives the child to Cyclops, after Xavier points out that the future of all mutantkind is at stake and Cyclops, as leader of the X-Men, speaks for mutantkind. Cyclops holds the baby and, realizing that the child deserves the chance to make its own destiny, gives her back to Cable. Cable teleports to the future just as Bishop fires a round at the child. The shot misses her and hits Xavier in the head. Cyclops strikes Bishop with an optic blast, and Cyclops declares the X-Men disbanded. 64. Manifest Destiny. During the interim period, Cyclops goes on a vacation with Emma to the Savage Land after refusing Tony Stark's request to have the X-Men as part of the 50-state initiative. There, they are contacted by Warren asking them for assistance in San Francisco. Scott and Emma are successful in rescuing not only Warren and the other X-Men, but also in rescuing San Francisco as a whole. As a result, the mayor of the city offers to help the X-Men re-establish themselves in the city. 65. After building a new headquarters, Cyclops sends word to all the world's mutants that San Francisco, which has welcomed the X-Men with open arms, is now a safe haven for mutant kind and that all are welcome to join them. 66. The X-Men's presence is widely approved of by San Francisco, including the police, who now hire the team to aid them in cases that might be out of their area. 67. Cyclops dispatches Wolverine to track down Mystique and revives X-Force as a clandestine Black Ops team whose mission is to take down threats to Mutankin that they cannot deal with while under the public eye. Cyclops places Wolverine in charge of the team and resolutely keeps X-Force's existence secret from the other X-Men, including Emma Frost manifested as a psychic black box in his mind that Emma is unable to open. 68, also demanding that X-Force remain unknown to the public. However, Cyclops utilizes other X-Men for parts of the group's mission, including Beast and the Stepford Cuckoos. The team is sometimes less careful, leaving blood-stained clothing around, piquing Emma's suspicions. The controversy of Cyclops' decisions as leader of the X-Men is further highlighted during the Skrull invasion of San Francisco when he readily utilizes biological warfare against the Skrulls by knowingly infecting them with an adapted version of the mutant legacy virus created by Beast without first determining if there was also a cure. 69. In another controversial decision, Cyclops sends X-Force to track down the Leper Queen who is infecting mutants with a strain of the legacy virus to use their uncontrolled powers in attacks against humanity in order to stir up anti-mutant hysteria. While on the mission, Beast locates Cable in the future and Cyclops orders X-Force to abandon the current mission and prepare for transport to the future to assist Cable and the baby, Hope. Despite knowing that the Leper Queen has kidnapped and intends to kill Hellion, Surge, and Boom Boom, and despite the protests from both X-Force and Beast that a few more minutes is all that is needed to kill her and save the students, Cyclops makes the difficult decision to activate the time machine. Though Domino is only moments away from killing the Leper Queen, the team is transported to the future and the Leper Queen appears to shoot Boom Boom in the head, while Hellion and Surge are injected and sent to the United Nations building for another attack. 70. Upon his return to the present, Wolverine confronts Cyclops on the risks he took in making that decision. Volume and issue needed. Mutant, anti-mutant rioting and the return of Madeline Prioredit footage of Cooperstown, Alaska from X-Men. Messiah Complex is eventually released to the media by Simon Trask, designed to deceive the public into believing that the destruction was caused by the newborn mutant Messiah rather than the Purifiers. 68. The footage, coupled with Trask's newly formed Humanity Now coalition, pushing anti-mutant legislation, dubbed Proposition X, aiming to control mutant reproduction, causes an increase in mutant hate crimes, causing Scott to open the X-Men's base to anyone seeking refuge. 71. During this time, his growing secrecy concerning X-Force and Emma's suspicions that he is keeping something from her begin creating a rift between them. 72. Taking advice from Storm that Scott's actions are always in the best interest of mutant kind, Emma secretly agrees to participate in Norman Osborn's cabal in her own attempt to ensure the protection of the mutant population. 73. Scott encounters his dead ex-wife, Madeline Pryor, again when she inexplicably returns as a psychic ghost. 74-75, calling herself the Red Queen and with a newly assembled all-female team of mutants calling themselves the Sisterhood. 76. Her team attacks the X-Men and Madeline steals a lock of Jean's hair in Wolverine's possession, with the goal of using it to locate and inhabit Jean's body, allowing her to be reborn. 77. Scott employs Domino to exhume Jean's grave and swap her body with another. Unaware of the switch and spurning Scott's attempt to reach out to her, Madeline attempts to possess the body, but seemingly disintegrates into nothingness as no other body than Jean Grey's can house an entity of Madeline's level of power. 75. Utopia, Dark Reign, seeded after the battle with Madeline and the Sisterhood, Beast confronts Scott and Emma, stating that he is aware of both of their clandestine actions and that they will discuss them at length together or their secrets will tear the X-Men apart. 78. In the limited crossover tie-in, Dark X-Men, Dark Avengers. Utopia, the growing unrest among the mutant population and calculated instigation from Trask and humanity now leads to violent rioting from mutants against the anti-mutant coalition in San Francisco. Though supported by the mayor, Cyclops is largely viewed as the leader of the remaining mutant population by the media, and he takes the brunt of negative media and public opinion, implicated as endorsing and sending the X-Men to lead the rioting. Trask capitalizes on the hysteria, portraying humanity now as victims of oppression in order to push Proposition X. Norman Osborn utilizes the Dark Avengers to stop the riots and arrest Cyclops and his team of X-Men, calling in Emma to lead a new team of Dark X-Men. Emma agrees to lead the team, which will answer to Osborn as the Black Queen. Marvel writer Matt Fraction indicated that Emma's alliance with Osborn places Scott and Emma at odds with one another, creating a profound schism. 79. Cyclops travels to Osborn's base on Alcatraz Island to speak with him. Osborn tells Cyclops that they can end the riots and hysteria here right now, but Cyclops interrupts him and orders him to surrender. A shocked Osborn asks what he means, and Cyclops replies that Osborn needs to get the riots under control and then withdraw HAMMER and the Dark Avengers and leave San Francisco to him and the X-Men. When Osborn refuses, Cyclops leaves, telling Osborn that he tried. After Cyclops leaves, Osborn tells Victoria Hand that when the time comes Osborn is going to kill Cyclops personally. 80. As Emma's Dark X-Men slowly get the city under control, Cyclops continues to form his plans to deal with the situation. Scott assigns his X-Men, such as Mirage, Domino, Mindy Cuckoo, and Psylocke, different tasks, as well as having another team observe Emma's team, as they deal with a group of Bio-Sentinels attacking San Francisco. When asked how they're expected to take out both the Dark X-Men and Dark Avengers, Scott retorts, "Who said you're the squad that's supposed to stop the Avengers?" 81. Scott's plan finally comes together as he has Magic teleport X-Force into HAMMER's Alcatraz Island, where they take on the Dark X-Men and Avengers, while Magic teleports all the captured mutants to safety. X-Force is aided by Emma and Namor, who are revealed to be double agents against Osborn. Immediately after, Scott has the X-Club resurrect Asteroid M, which crashed into the Pacific coast a few years prior. Cyclops then orders Magic and Pixie to teleport every X-Man and allied mutant to what he now calls Utopia. During a press conference, Cyclops informs the world that they have left the United States and that they reject Norman Osborn and his methods. 82. During this time period, Cyclops struggles to define what he wants Utopia to be: nation, base, etc. Utopia is attacked by numerous threats, including the events of Necrosha, and Furnace 2, and Fear itself. After the discovery of X-Force, Beast leaves Utopia and blames Cyclops for terrible judgment in how he is running Utopia. Volume and issue needed. When Osborn's illegal siege on Asgard is about to end sooner by the hands of the real Avengers led by the revived original Captain America, Cyclops is one of the non-participating heroes who watches Osborn's downfall live. He is seen watching the said siege alongside Wolverine inside the base at Utopia. 83. Second Coming and Age of Hero. Set it sometime after Utopia began, Cable returns to present-day Westchester, New York with Hope Summers, the baby believed to be the mutant messiah. As Cable had no idea that Cyclops and the X-Men moved to Utopia, Cyclops deploys his senior team of X-Men to search and rescue just as the Purifiers and Nimrod begin their attack on Cable and Hope. During the rescue, Nightcrawler is killed, teleporting Hope back to Utopia. Cyclops holds a funeral for his fallen friend, one of the few who really believed in Scott's belief of the mutant messiah. Beast arrives on Utopia for the funeral and blames Cyclops for the loss of Nightcrawler. Shortly after, an impenetrable field surrounds Utopia and Sentinels from the future begin to attack. Cyclops is forced to send a team of X-Men into the future led by Cable, but upon their return Cyclops and Hope watch Cable die from a combination of the technovirus and time travel. After Nimrod and the Purifiers are defeated, Cyclops holds a funeral for his fallen son. As Emma Frost witnesses a sign of the Phoenix manifesting in Hope, she runs to tell Scott, who dismisses her as he sees he was right all along. Cerebra detected 5 brand new mutant signals. Cyclops deploys Hope to recruit the new mutant signals and they become her team known as the Lights. Shortly after, Cyclops is awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom on the request of Commander Steve Rogers for his acts, but subsequently discards it as he wants to focus on doing what is right for the people rather than worrying about how his actions are perceived by others. 84. Fear itself. Edit. A possessed Juggernaut escapes Thunderbolt's captivity and begins to make his way west to San Francisco to either destroy Utopia or destroy San Francisco, depending on which side would give up the other first. Cyclops deploys multiple attempts to stop the Norse-powered Juggernaut to no avail. As one of his final plans, Cyclops sends Magic, Colossus, and Shadowcat to meet with Cyttorak to convince him to take away the powers he gave Juggernaut. Cyttorak agrees in exchange for making Colossus the new Juggernaut avatar and is able to push Cain Marco back until Cain is summoned by the Serpent. 85. Schism. Edit. At the beginning of Schism, Cyclops thanks Wolverine for always being there for him as they have finally achieved mutual respect after years of fighting and rivalry. While at a conference for weapon control, Kid Omega, Quentin Quire, launches a psychic terrorist attack on the ambassadors present. In response, Sentinels are deployed at the conference and are disposed of by Cyclops and Wolverine. Due to growing fears of mutant threat, countries around the world begin to mobilize their Sentinel forces. Cyclops begins to deploy X-Men around the globe to deal with the threat. Sometime after, Kid Omega shows up on Utopia to plead for amnesty. Wolverine tries to attack Kid Omega when Cyclops stops him. When Kid Omega insults Wolverine, Cyclops defends Wolverine and commands Quentin to be quiet. Later, Cyclops sends a team to a local mutant museum exhibit as a show of force. The new Hellfire Club attacks the exhibit and incapacitates all senior X-Men present. As Cyclops flies to the museum from Utopia and Wolverine rushes to help, Eddie asks if she should kill the Hellfire Club to help. While Wolverine protests against it profusely, Cyclops tells Eddie to do what she feels is right. Eddie kills almost every Hellfire Club member left to save her friends and mentors. Wolverine pops his claws at Cyclops in anger but restrains himself when he realizes what he's doing. 86. However, the new Hellfire Club activates a special giant Sentinel, sent towards Utopia. With most of the X-Men far from Utopia and part of the team being in the Med Lab, young mutant Messiah Hope Summers and other teenage mutants volunteer to join Cyclops in the fight against the Super Sentinel. Wolverine is opposed to the idea of putting children on the front lines against the Sentinel, When Cyclops insists that everyone who wants to fight should fight, Wolverine gets a detonator and threatens to blow up Utopia in order to make the youngsters run away from the island and destroy the Super Sentinel. Cyclops and Wolverine's frustration with each other come to a head when Cyclops brings up Jean Grey. The two fight each other in a rage while being attacked by the Sentinel. 87. Eventually, the Super Sentinel threat forces them to stop fighting each other and join Hope and the other young mutants in the battle against the Sentinel, and the Sentinel is finally taken down. But the ideological differences between Cyclops and Wolverine makes Wolverine decide to leave Utopia and bring along whoever wants to come with him. 88. Both men eventually start recruiting their teammates. Some members of the X-Men leave with Wolverine, while part of the team stays in Utopia with Cyclops. 89. X-Men. Regenesis at it. While Wolverine doesn't leave as an enemy of Cyclops and his X-Men, he makes clear he wants both sides to stay out of the other's business. Various X-Men leave for various reasons. Rogue, for example, departs because she feels that Cyclops has lost perspective and cannot accept the possibility of being wrong. With the X-Men who have chosen to leave alongside him, Wolverine returns to Westchester, New York to open the Jean Grey School for the Gifted while Cyclops organizes new teams of X-Men and remains on Utopia. 89. Avengers vs. X-Men. Edit. With the discovery that the Phoenix Force is returning to Earth, apparently to use Hope as a host, Cyclops believes Hope as Phoenix can be used to jump-start the mutant population. Captain America, fearing that the Phoenix will come to Earth and destroy everything, assembles a force of Avengers aboard a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier and using the S.H.I.E.L.D. cloaking technology travels to Utopia to confront Cyclops. Upon arriving on Utopia, Captain America orders Cyclops to transfer Hope to his protective custody. Assuming that Captain America will not take no for answer, Cyclops refuses and uses his optic blast to push the Captain back into the sea. Captain America then orders the Avengers take the beach and apprehend the mutant, Hope. 90. Cyclops denounces the Avengers as having always seen the mutants as ugly stepchildren, and will now seek to actively undermine them after they acquired a Messiah. 91. During battle, Hope escapes Utopia. After Hope escapes, Cyclops orders the X-Men to surrender and ends the fighting. Once Magic returns to Utopia, Cyclops directs Magic to use her teleportation power to facilitate the X-Men's escape. 92. Cyclops scatters the X-Men across the globe with the mission to prevent the Avengers from capturing Hope. Hope seeks out Wolverine for help. Wolverine aids Hope in traveling to the blue area of the moon but then calls the Avengers to inform them of Hope's location. Cyclops and a select group of X-Men arrive to stop Hope's capture. 93. Iron Man fails in his attempt to disrupt the Phoenix Force. As a result, the Phoenix Force is divided and instead inhabits 5 X-Men present on the moon, none of which is Hope. Cyclops, one of the new Phoenix avatars, travels back to Earth with an unconscious Hope. Volume and issue needed. The newly dubbed Phoenix 5 begin to transform the world. The world's transformation beings is a utopian society which descends to a police state as the avatars are corrupted by the power of the Phoenix and are unable to control their desires, impulses, fantasies and whims from changing reality. Wanda teleports Hope away and Cyclops declares that there will be no more Avengers. Volume and issue needed. In defense against the combined assault of the Avengers and the X-Men, Cyclops attacks Emma Frost and absorbs her portion of the Phoenix Force, before killing Xavier and transforming into Dark Phoenix. 94. In pitched battle, the Avengers and X-Men weaken Cyclops enough for Hope to absorb the Phoenix Force into herself. She undoes the changes to the world caused by Cyclops, and she and the Scarlet Witch then spread out the Phoenix Force across the globe, causing thousands of people to become mutants. Cyclops is held captive in a ruby quartz cell and while guilt-stricken over killing Xavier, he is happy over the mutant race restarted and claims he would do it all over again. 95. Captain America convinces Wolverine to visit Cyclops, who is being held in a specialized private prison created for the re-emerged mutant population, to learn where his extinction team might be hiding. 96. Cyclops baits Wolverine into trying to kill him, but Wolverine lets up once he realizes that Cyclops wants to die and be made a martyr. Once returned to general population, Cyclops is joined by Jake, the only other mutant inmate in the prison. The pair soon realize that all the guards have left as three inmates approach them brandishing shivs. 97. When the inmates move towards Jake, Cyclops tells the inmates to leave him out of this. The tattooed inmate states to Cyclops that their issue is with all mutants as he and the other two inmates attack them. However, due to his training in martial arts, Cyclops was able to defeat the three inmates. After that, he had a talk with Jake, who revealed his origin to Cyclops. Cyclops then tells Jake about the Jean Grey School and they might take older students. Later that night, Cyclops uses metal filings to communicate with Magneto and tell him not to break him out as he must stay a prisoner, a political prisoner, and he will not let them turn him into a criminal. 98. Cyclops allows Iron Man to study him for remaining effects of the Phoenix Force. As he is leaving, Jake is murdered by the mutant-hating inmates. Depressed at this action, Cyclops ends up taking up the earlier offer from Magneto to break him out of prison. 99. Magneto, Magic, and Danger break Cyclops out of prison. Before leaving with Magneto, Magic, and Danger, Cyclops has Magic send Jake's murderers to Limbo and has Danger disfigure the corrupt warden by carving an X on his face. The Avengers arrive to find the prison demolished and abandoned except for the warden, who delivers a message from Cyclops to Wolverine stating that he will support Wolverine's school and continue to fight for mutant rights, noting that now that Wolverine has taken the role of the better man, Cyclops can be the man who does what's necessary. Cyclops, Magneto and Magic watch a newscaster advocating putting mutants in concentration camps. When Magneto asks Cyclops if killing Neanderthal, Cyclops' newer, darker uniform. Art by Chris Bacalo. With the X-Men disturbed at Scott's more violent policies, including attacking police officers and various officials for illegally detaining mutants after their powers manifested, but unwilling to actively confront him for fear of triggering a mutant civil war, a chance comment by Iceman inspires Beast to pursue a new solution. He travels back in time to recruit the Scott Summers from the early days of Xavier's school for gifted youngsters to convince the present Scott that what he was doing was wrong. 101. It is also speculated that those who either possessed or had strong interactions with the Phoenix Force have had their abilities altered in varying ways. This leaves the present-day Cyclops with little to no control over his powers. 102. It is also revealed that the Mutant Revolution, and Cyclops in particular, have gained popular support among the general public, despite continued distrust and animosity from the Avengers and X-Men. 103. Later it was revealed that the reason for this alteration was not from the exposure to the Phoenix Force but because they had been infected by Dark Beast with nano-sentinels. Once they removed the nano-sentinels from their bodies, they regained total control over their powers. 104. New Xavier Schuldet Cyclops has made a new base in the old Weapon X facility in Canada to train new mutants with Emma Frost, Magic and Magneto. He calls it New Xavier School for the Gifted. It was revealed that Scott, Emma, Illyana and Magneto had been infected with nanite sentinels that had corrupted their powers and caused them to be unpredictable. Cyclops then begins recruiting new mutants for his new Uncanny X-Men. 105. He uses Cerebro to find new mutants and often clashes with Sentinels, S.H.I.E.L.D., the Avengers, and even mutants from the future during the Battle of the Atom. 106. Storm finds Cyclops' new school in order to tell him that Xavier's last will and testament will be read in Westchester and they will allow him back on the original school's campus again. 107. After the reading of Xavier's will, in which he left everything to the present Scott and noted that he always saw Scott as a son, Scott decided to close the new Xavier school and send all his students to the Jean Grey school, reflecting that he had simply started making threats after all other methods had failed but was now forced to recognize that such an action wasn't what Xavier would have wanted of him, admitting that he had never had a real plan for what would happen if someone tried to make him enforce those threats. 108. Cyclops, after finally realizing what his mutant revolution is, gathered mutants at the White House to show humans that the mutants could all gather in one place without creating harm to the human race. Some X-Men were reluctant to appreciate Cyclops' act, while others endorsed him, such as Nightcrawler, his brother Havoc, and finally Magneto, who stated that, even if Cyclops' actions seemed insane, Xavier would have loved this. 109. Secret War said it at some point during the Future Time Runs Out storyline, Cyclops acquires a Phoenix egg which he holds in reserve, hoping to use it to end the incursions. 110. During the Secret Wars storyline, Cyclops stands on top of the Phoenix egg during the incursion between Earth 616 and Earth 1610. Cyclops eventually uses the Phoenix egg to become one with the Phoenix Force again and uses his powers to decimate the children of tomorrow, before joining most of the surviving heroes from his universe in their life raft. His fellow survivors including Mr. Fantastic, Carol Danvers now known as Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Panther, the new Thor, and Star-Lord. They remain in stasis for a time until they are released by Doctor Strange, who survived the incursions on his own, and meet Miles Morales, the successor to the Ultimate Universe's original Spider-Man. Learning that Strange is now Doctor Doom's sheriff, the heroes set out to learn more about where they are now and what's the situation in the present world. 111. Although Cyclops' Phoenix-influenced state initially accepts the new world that Doom has created following the destruction of the multiverse, he joins the other survivors in attacking Doctor Doom. The Phoenix Force actually allows Cyclops to hold his own for a time against Doom's Beyonder-acquired powers, but the fight ends with Doom breaking Cyclops' neck. 112. Newsman falls within their purview. Cyclops tells him it does not. Magneto warns him that they're embarking on something completely different now, but Cyclops tells him he's wrong, saying that just like before, they're hated, feared, and saving the world. 100. Post-Avengers vs. X-Men edit with the X-Men disturbed at Scott's more violent policies, including attacking police officers and various officials for illegally detaining mutants after their powers manifested, but unwilling to actively confront him for fear of triggering a mutant civil war. A chance comment by Iceman inspires Beast to pursue a new solution. He travels back in time to recruit the Scott Summers from the early days of Xavier's school for gifted youngsters to convince the present Scott that what he was doing was wrong. 101. It is also speculated that those who either possessed or had strong interactions with the Phoenix Force have had their abilities altered in varying ways. This leaves the present-day Cyclops with little to no control over his powers. 102. It is also revealed that the Mutant Revolution, and Cyclops in particular, have gained popular support among the general public, despite continued distrust and animosity from the Avengers and X-Men. 103. Later it was revealed that the reason for this alteration was not from the exposure to the Phoenix Force but because they had been infected by Dark Beast with nano-sentinels. Once they removed the nano-sentinels from their bodies, they regained total control over their powers. 104. New Xavier Schuldet Cyclops has made a new base in the old Weapon X facility in Canada to train new mutants with Emma Frost, Magik and Magneto. He calls it New Xavier School for the Gifted. It was revealed that Scott, Emma, Illyana and Magneto had been infected with nanite sentinels that had corrupted their powers and caused them to be unpredictable. Cyclops then begins recruiting new mutants for his new Uncanny X-Men. 105. He uses Cerebro to find new mutants and often clashes with Sentinels, S.H.I.E.L.D., the Avengers, and even mutants from the future during the Battle of the Atom. 106. Storm finds Cyclops' new school in order to tell him that Xavier's last will and testament will be read in Westchester and they will allow him back on the original school's campus again. 107. After the reading of Xavier's will, in which he left everything to the present Scott and noted that he always saw Scott as a son, Scott decided to close the new Xavier School and send all his students to the Jean Grey School, reflecting that he had simply started making threats after all other methods had failed but was now forced to recognize that such an action wasn't what Xavier would have wanted of him, admitting that he had never had a real plan for what would happen if someone tried to make him enforce those threats. 108. Cyclops, after finally realizing what his mutant revolution is, gathered mutants at the White House to show humans that the mutants could all gather in one place without creating harm to the human race. Some X-Men were reluctant to appreciate Cyclops' act, while others endorsed him, such as Nightcrawler, his brother Havoc, and finally Magneto, who stated that, even if Cyclops' actions seemed insane, Xavier would have loved this. 109. Secret War said it at some point during the Future Time Runs Out storyline. Cyclops acquires a Phoenix egg which he holds in reserve, hoping to use it to end the incursions. 110. During the Secret Wars storyline, Cyclops stands on top of the Phoenix egg during the incursion between Earth 616 and Earth 1610. Cyclops eventually uses the Phoenix egg to become one with the Phoenix Force again and uses his powers to decimate the children of tomorrow, before joining most of the surviving heroes from his universe in their life raft. His fellow survivors including Mr. Fantastic, Carol Danvers, now known as Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Panther, the new Thor, and Star-Lord. They remain in stasis for a time until they are released by Doctor Strange, who survived the incursions on his own, and meet Miles Morales, the successor to the Ultimate Universe's original Spider-Man. Learning that Strange is now Doctor Doom's sheriff, the heroes set out to learn more about where they are now and what's the situation in the present world. 111. Although Cyclops' Phoenix-influenced state initially accepts the new world that Doom has created following the destruction of the multiverse, he joins the other survivors in attacking Doctor Doom. The Phoenix Force actually allows Cyclops to hold his own for a time against Doom's Beyonder-acquired powers, but the fight ends with Doom breaking Cyclops' neck. 112. All new, all different at it following Secret Wars and the restoration of Earth 616, Cyclops was killed during Death of X, when the X-Men discovered that the released Terrigen mists were fatal to mutants upon exposure. Cyclops was one of the first victims of the M-Pox, although Emma Frost used a telepathic projection of him to rally mutant attempts to destroy a Terrigenesis cloud, subsequently faking his death in a final confrontation with Black Bolt to create a détente between mutants and Inhumans so that the two could work on saving mutants while leaving each other alone. Only the Stepford Cuckoos, Havoc, and Magneto were aware of Emma's deception, and Magneto aware only because his helmet prevented Emma from altering his mind. 113. Although the specific details of his death were not known to the public, 8 months later, several mutant youths regarded Cyclops as a figure of inspiration for standing up for their rights. This led to problems for the young Cyclops, who is disgusted at what his future self has become and resents the legacy he is seemingly destined to leave. 114. He travels the country hunting down a team of villains calling themselves the Ghosts of Cyclops, who claim to be fighting for mutant rights, but are really using their powers to steal. It turns out they are just college students and the all-new X-Men come to save them. Cyclops convinces them to turn themselves in rather than fight the police. He vows to not go down the same destructive path as older Cyclops. 115. Storm in particular is recorded as blaming the elder Cyclops for spreading the M-Pox. 116. With the disappearance of Colossus and Magic at the hands of the Marauders, the X-Men confronted Mr. Sinister only to discover that he was experimenting on unwilling subjects to try to make inhuman and mutant DNA coexist in order to create a genetically superior species of mutants who could survive the Terrigen Mist. To their surprise, Sinister deployed his only successful specimen, the seemingly revived Cyclops. 117. This Cyclops, however, was soon revealed to be an experiment created by Sinister who combined Scott Summers' genetic material with inhuman DNA. 118. When the Phoenix attempts to return once again by resurrecting the adult Jean Grey, it allows her to talk with what appears to be Cyclops' spirit. But after reading his mind about the events that led to his death, Jean simply expresses regret that she wasn't there to help him, and the former lovers apologize to each other for the way things ended before agreeing that they should remain dead. Scott subsequently ages rapidly and dies in Jean's arms, whereupon Jean informs the Phoenix that all she wanted was to say goodbye to her husband. 119. Extermination edit. After the original X-Men are returned to their proper time by the end of the Extermination miniseries, Cyclops is revealed to not only be alive but also in hiding with a teen version of Cable until the time-displaced X-Men return to their timeline to the present in order to prevent a Hobbs mutant murder future from happening. 120. X-Men disassembled edit. After most of the X-Men who participated the battle, including Legion, Magneto, Apocalypse, Blob and Omega Red, are vanished by the hands of X-Man, who plans to reshape the world without X-Men. Cyclops, while keeping his low profile, is seen a few days later reading news of the X-Men's disappearance. 121. It is explained that his recent resurrection was caused when the younger version of Cable went to find Paul, a human who was rescued by Cyclops from giant robots controlled by the vengeful Professor Maven, back during the original X-Men era, with Paul now working for Tony Stark as a scientist. Cable gives Paul the Phoenix Cage device created by the Avengers back in 2012 to recreate the device so he could resurrect Cyclops. Cable and Paul manage to find Cyclops' corpse after his public death, and implanted a smaller version of the Phoenix Cage into the corpse's heart. When Cyclops was temporarily brought back by the Phoenix during Jean's resurrection, the Phoenix Cage is activated and absorbs a small portion of Phoenix Force, which eventually restored Cyclops to full life even after the Phoenix abandoned him. After the time-displaced X-Men manage to return to their time, Cyclops gains the extra memories of his past self, while finding out that the original older Cable had been screwing the timeline for keeping the younger X-Men in the present. Although Cable admits that he brought his father back to life primarily because he saw his death as unfair, he He keeps Cyclops contained in his base until the other X-Men are engaged in battle against Nate Gray. At the same moment as Professor Marvin escapes prison and goes after Paul for revenge, Cable then forcing Cyclops to choose which of the two he will save. Although the other X-Men are apparently killed by Nate, Cyclops' decision to save Paul allows him to reassess his actions prior to his death and conclude that he had become as bad as his enemies, choosing to help mutants over humans regardless of the consequences. Visiting Utopia, the place where he killed Professor X during the Avengers vs. X-Men event and also where Nate vanishes the participating X-Men, Cyclops vows to find the lost X-Men and restore them to create a brighter future, joined by the resurrected Wolverine, but unable to save Blindfold from committing her own suicide attempts. 122-123. After defending themselves from Purifiers, Sapien League and Reaver's attacks, Cyclops and Wolverine went to rescue and recruit Magic, Wolfsbane, Karma, Strong Guy and one of multiple man's duplicate from ONE compound, including Cyclops' brother Havoc, who turned himself in due to having his crime status when he was affected by an inverse effect back in Axis event until he got freed during the near end of Secret Empire. However, they are unable to save Strong Guy and one of multiple man's duplicate, due to the former sacrificing his life to save the surviving new X-Men team from the virus bomb implanted on the said duplicate by ONE. 124. During War of the Realms event, Cyclops joins forces with his time-displaced younger self's allies champions to take down Malekith's forces. 125-126. Eventually, the other X-Men returns from the alternate reality created by Nate Gray and he reunites with Jean Grey for the first time in many years and defeats ONE. 127. House of Zedit. Scott Summers lives on the sovereign nation-state of Krakoa for mutants, created by Charles Xavier, Magneto, and Moira 10th. When the Fantastic Four captures Sabretooth after he kills several guards during a heist, he shows up to claim him on the grounds of amnesty, though he agrees to leave Sabretooth behind after Mr. Fantastic refuses. He also asks the Fantastic Four to let Franklin Richards know there is a place for him in Krakoa. 128. Later on, Cyclops leads a team of X-Men to destroy Mother Mold and prevent the creation of Nimrod. Though they succeed, they are all killed during the mission. However, the entire team is resurrected by a group of mutants known as the Five Goldballs, Tempest, Proteus, Elixir, Hope Summers, and are proclaimed the heroes of Krakoa. 129. Outlawed. Upon learning many pre-adult superheroes have been falsely outlawed by the Crusade of Roxxon, through manipulating Senator Jeffrey Patrick and CRADLE, Cyclops, Pixie and Dust rushes to help the surviving champions and clear Kamala's name from being used for an unjust law. 130. While in Ironheart's hidden lab, Cyclops informs that Vision is alive, and selling out both of her own teammates and fellow teenage superheroes to the CRADLE. He tricked CRADLE into believing the champions are escorted to Krakoa, and tries his best to find a safer place that is not at Krakoa for them, due to the island restriction. He enlists Bishop, Iceman, Pyro, Shadowcat and Storm to provide the champions the X-Men's personal pirate ship to live far away from USA. 131. Time-displaced Cyclops. Edit. All new X-Men. Edit. Main article. All new X-Men. Beast hoped that bringing the original X-Men into the present would remind Cyclops of why Xavier created the X-Men and prevent a mutant genocide. 132. The original X-Men then decide they want to stay and become the all-new X-Men. 101. Both the time-displaced Cyclops and the adult Cyclops join forces when faced with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants from the future, who come to the present and try to force the original X-Men back into the past. This results in the Battle of the Atom crossover. Volume and issue needed. When the time-displaced Jean Grey is later kidnapped by the Shear and placed on trial for the destruction done by the Phoenix Force years earlier in the 2014 crossover storyline Trial of Jean Grey, the teenage Cyclops and the all-new X-Men team up with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Starjammers, and rescue Jean from the Shear homeworld. Volume and issue needed. The younger Cyclops learns that his father Corsair is alive, and decides to follow him out to space and leaves the X-Men. He also secretly wants some time apart from Jean Grey, who is showing feelings toward younger Hank McCoy. 133. In his own spin-off series, young Cyclops enjoys spending time with the father he thought was dead. 134. They get marooned on a hostile alien planet, hunted by dangerous bounty hunters, and are kidnapped by the villainous space pirate Captain Valish Malefect. 135. Cyclops even develops a relationship with the captain's daughter Violina. 136. They eventually meet up with the Guardians of the Galaxy and the all-new X-Men during the events of the Black Vortex. 137. After Secret Wars ends, Cyclops leads a team of young X-Men consisting of the time-displaced X-Men along with Wolverine, Oya, and Evan Sabanner with the hopes of shaking off the legacies left for them by their older counterparts. 138. Inhumans vs. X-Men edit. Despite facing his future self's reputation as the man who attempted to destroy the Inhumans with his final act, the young Cyclops nevertheless sides with the other X-Men when they go to war with the Inhumans over the creation of the Terrigenesis clouds. However, during this fight, young Cyclops is briefly possessed by the body-jumping Inhuman Mosaic, which results in him witnessing a memory Mosaic saw when he possessed Magneto of Magneto and Emma Frost standing over the future Cyclops' body after he died of Mpox. This leads to young Cyclops realizing that his future self did not die attacking the Inhumans, prompting him to vow to go after Emma Frost for what she did to his reputation. 139. He exposes the truth about her actions at the conclusion of the war with the Inhumans when Emma tries to continue the conflict even after Medusa destroys the Terrigenesis cloud to save the mutants at the cost of the Inhumans' future, ignoring Emma's attempts to claim that she did what Scott would have done if he could. 140. Champion said it after becoming inspired by a viral speech made by Ms. Marvel. The young Cyclops decides to join the new Champions team. After misreading a situation and attacking Hulk, initially the Champions attack him and restrain him. After hearing his pitch and putting it to a vote, they decide to not make the same mistakes made in the most recent Civil War and not judge him for the actions of his future self, agreeing to let him join the team. 141. Due to his experience in leading the X-Men, many of the Champions look to him for leadership. However, a leader is never formally chosen. 142. Research edit. After Inhumans vs. X-Men ended, the young Cyclops was determined to return to his own timeline, but upon returning to the past, he is crestfallen to realize that their timeline is not the same as the Earth's 616 timeline. This knowledge places Cyclops into a stupor, as now the time-displaced X-Men do not know what timeline they are originally from. 143. With the new knowledge that they are from a separate timeline entirely, Cyclops and the time-displaced X-Men leave the rest to the X-Men to find their place. After joining Magneto's team of X-Men in Madripoor, Cyclops steps down from leadership and Marvel Girl leads the team. 144. Exterminated. Edit. The entire X-Men team find themselves hunted on two fronts, with one group being the mutant hunter known as Ahab from a dark possible future where he has turned various mutants into his hounds to hunt their fellows, and another being a younger version of Cable, 145 Who is so determined to send the young X-Men back to their own time that he actually kills his own future self to stop him interfering, as well as performing surgery to restore Warren's original feathered wings. After Mimic is killed when he acts as a decoy to save young Cyclops. 146 The original 5 accept the need to return home, but only after taking a detour into the future to meet the younger versions of Ahab's key mutant soldiers, allowing Jean to learn how their powers work. With this new knowledge, Jean is able to program a time delay on the original 5's memories once they return to the past, erasing all knowledge of events in the future until they reach that point, simultaneously granting the present Jean with knowledge of how to stop the Hounds. The timeline is thus restored to its original course, with Jean, Hank, Warren and Bobby meeting for milkshakes to talk about their new memories, unaware that young Cable is talking with a now alive adult Cyclops. 147. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more videos about your favorite comics, movies are coming soon. Join me on Patreon by Omaranger004. Your small donation helps run the channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.